Sorry, I'm just trying to
And,
figure it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today is June 25th, 2026. Uh, Beautiful Saturday mornings and nice weather out in LA. It's pretty hot. Um, Welcome to the eighth episode of Lost Player Society. Well, please introduce yourself, my co-host.
well, hello there. My name is Tony, and I hate to be that guy, but I have to correct you there, my friend. It is not June 25th, it's actually July 25th.
Ah, yeah, you're right. I've been living in there. What year? What year?
The year of our Lord is 2026.
All right.
What Lord that is? I can't tell you. It's 2026. There's a lot of them out there nowadays.
All right. Well, my name's not Tony, as you can tell. This is our eighth episode, and we have been missing for about 2 months now, haven't we now? Uh,
Um, I believe about that. Yes, sorry folks, life, you know, important business too. So,
yeah, yeah, I have been on back business trip, so that's that.
and I
Um,
refuse to learn how any of this stuff works because frankly, well, I just don't care sometimes.
which stuff?
The podcasting stuff
Well,
and the editing and all that other good stuff.
I wouldn't call it editing. I just randomly place stuff in it and just see if it works.
No, I have not seen the Odyssey as I refuse to pay such high prices to see a movie.
I heard is making money, but to be honest, I don't think the measurement of how much money they make is it's not a qualifier in this instance to see if it's a good movie or not. Because from a lot of people, what I heard from no, no, sorry, critical drinker and a lot of people, they said it's quite boring movie, and also people have said they basically it's a heroic. Can you please pronounce it for me, Mr. Tony?
Heroic?
Yes, he is a heroic journey without the hero. Odyssey seemed to be quite depressed. Um, it's not this is not 1997 Odyssey that we grew up watching. This is quite different. Uh, I hate to admit it, but they said the only good actor in this whole movie is Robert Pattinson. So, he's actually portrayed a good villain in this. Look at this. Why are they wearing the medieval freaking Space Marines armor? But anyway, um, yeah, it's a very dull and boring, and the music score is quite too loud in the background, and there's just no chemistry. They said they're not seeing the character, they're seeing the actor. You know, they not really the characters are not coming to life. They just see actor,
So
and
basically, what they're saying is this film doesn't allow the viewer to suspend disbelief and really believe what's going on.
no, no, they just think it's a very expensive high school play where the actors and actresses are playing themselves, and the costume design sucks. So yeah, yeah,
Well,
that doesn't sound very good to my senses. Um, I what I was really looking forward to it to what I'm really looking forward to is something akin to the Law of the Ring, right? I mean, Odyssey is 3,000 years old, the Law of the Ring kind of type. You know what I mean? It's about the longing and coming home, and you know, and then Penelope is also this virtuous woman waiting for her husband, and she's not just supposed to be crying mess. She she she, she got the wit and the tenacity, and she strategic mind, a strong independent woman. She can take care of her kingdom while her husband is missing, kind of type, the strong arch lady type, the matriarch. And in the meantime, Odysseus is longing to come home, and he's doing everything he can to make that journey happen. Because he can't wait to go back to his home, his kingdom, and the lovely wife that's waiting for him, and the son that he never got to see. That it it speaks to the human, uh, the the human mind, the human soul, so to speak.
yeah,
At least,
that makes sense, but let's be honest, they already made this movie and I've already seen it in the 90s. So, hey, we remade this movie. It's not exactly going to excite me, because it's like I seen this in the 90s. There's a guy, he's on a boat. Eventually, his boat crashes into an island. He finds a hot chick. He's like, "Damn, these pork ribs are really good." Finds out that actually she is a witch who turned his friends into pigs. And then he ate his friends, and he's like, "Damn, am I gay now?" And then he decides to leave and go about his way. And then
how long did
eventually,
he spend with the witch? Right, it must be really great. Never mind.
a real great companionship, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
That
yes.
V-shaped companionship that we all crave and love.
Hmm. And you know, same thing with what is Supergirl? Uh, Supergirl, Supergirl flop. It's see this. Don't tell me I'm racist or anti-feminist. That's a black African American ladies talking about why Supergirl flop. If you actually listen to her, um, Supergirl. This is the writer uh injecting themselves into what's the character, right? They, I feel like people nowadays, these people, sorry, they they don't know how to write a female protagonist. They don't know how to write female hero. You know, it's always the boss babes type. It's not about that. It's a heroes has to go through a journey. We're supposed to be able to identify, not in like shitty, gearbox way. I mean, like the heroes, they go the dip, the low, and then they came out strong. Supposed to speak to the human psyche in that way. The heroes, you know, the, I apologize. I really don't know how to describe it right now on top of my head. I suppose, but the hero journeys, whether it's a female or male, and it's what make them heroes, the sacrifice and all those things. And I don't think these modern day gearballs know how to write these type of story properly anymore. It's always the shitty gear boss. And the same thing with Odysseus. It's about degrading the male in some way. It, you know, it, they're not. It's it. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna put it out there. It's a modern day feminist ideas. There's no substance to it. It's just shallow. That's what it is. It's
What
shallow. There's no depth to these people, and they're like just like any modern days freaking Hollywood elite. You know, it's a performative. Virtue signaling. It's not a real virtue. It's not a real kindness. It's all just performative, and they are injecting their own performative selves into these movies. And that's why, I can't stay for 2 hours watching this movie. I just feel like a waste of time the whole time.
Yeah, what I would say is the metric in Hollywood has changed from the art telling a story that's good and will touch people and will make people think about things differently to a profit mindset. And in our current society, how to be profitable is basically, okay, where are we in terms of our beliefs and our thinking in our cancel culture that we unfortunately live under? Okay, those ideas are acceptable. Only use those ideas and push out as much, performative virtue signaling as possible to try and get as much as the market, as opposed to, hey, we're going to tell a story and it's going to be meaningful. And if one person watches it and enjoys it, then by golly, we did our job. Now it's like we got to keep pumping stuff out. We got to keep making money. We need more money, more profits. It doesn't matter if we're basically just making the same story over again 200 times because it's all about the money and not about the storytelling.
It's about, I don't go to a movie to get lecture, right? I mean, yes, the movie is a storytelling, and some storytelling are about teaching us, virtue is, and how hubris um make Greek heroes fails and things like that. But it has to be settled. It's stop being so in your face, like Jesus, people, and this remind me of when growing up in third world country and socialist slash communist slash military dictatorship. Every movie is a propaganda, and it's not like a good suburb under the storyline giving you message type. This is like just pure outright propaganda in your face. You know what I mean? There is no thought process behind it. This is just you screaming at you kind of type. That's what it feels like. This whole movie, all these movies just feel like just propaganda machine just screaming at you the whole time. There is no substance to it. There is no storyline. The movie is about, think of it in this way, 3,000 years ago, people recite poems to talk about stories and, uh, pass down information. And this movie doesn't feel like telling stories anymore. The story is a secondary. Propaganda messaging is the primary, and the character development is tertiary. It doesn't make. That's what it is. It's no longer about story. It's about propaganda, the outright propaganda in your face. And story is just the afterthought process. And that's what every movie, all of these movie feels like nowadays. It's yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. They're no longer able to balance telling a good story with wanting to make people think about stuff, right? Now they're all about we have to make the most money, so we must stay within the propaganda walls, right? And the
Mm.
virtue signaling and all this other stuff so we can make the money because it's all about making the money. A film I would say
I
that
don't
is
think it's even
good.
about making money because they are losing money in some of these movies. I think it's about political, you know, uh, it's it's about social and political just conglomerate, just trying to, virtue signals us the whole way, right? It's it's not like a social commentary in a subtle way like George Orwell's or like Animal Farms. Not those kind of subtle social commentary. This is just uh, you know uh communist uh brainwashing with a little bit of stories in the background. That's all it is. Because they am losing money. Uh, the only reason I feel like Odyssey hasn't lose any money is because of Christopher Nolan name attached to it, and a lot of people who doesn't think more than two steps uh thinks this is gonna be a good movie and go watch it, right? Is even though a lot of other like people are telling them like this story shit, you know, but it for normal, let's just I don't like to use the word sheep. It's so boomer and overused, but that's what they are. You know, these people's are outright saying we don't like you. We just want your money, and we just we think you're wrong. These people as in Hollywood elites, they kind of think lowly of us as dirty plebes. You know, they think they need to change our way of life because, like I said, we are the dirty plebes, and what they're better than us, and they need to teach us a lesson. We don't like your kind here. I would like your money, but we don't like your kind around here. Same thing with Supergirl. They're like, this movie is not made for men. And a man doesn't show up to watch a movie and say, you guys are all sexist. That's why you don't watch a movie. That's why we are failing at box office. I'm like, okay, but you just told us that this is not a movie about us. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes, it's like how you sometimes see the videos on YouTube of the women talking about relationships, and they're like, I told him no. How come he's not pursuing me? Well, you told him no. He's going to take no means no.
you've been telling us for some time that no means no. So we start pursuing it. And now you're complaining that we're not pursuing it. Jesus Christ.
And it's like, you told
Pursuing
us
you.
no. We're not going to pursue because you told us no. If you want us to pursue, you got to tell us yes or a maybe, like not a
It's
no. A no means no. And
it's
with the
it's
whole
it's a
Holly,
contradiction. It's a contradiction. Everything is contradictory. And you know what that come down to? People does not have accountability. Whether they succeed, well, they want to take accountability when they're successful, but they don't want to take accountability when they're failing. It's about everybody's fault except us.
it's basically a victim mindset that's basically drummed into a lot of people. That if you're not successful, it's not because of what you're doing, it's because other people are doing things that make it impossible for you to succeed.
Same thing with Moana. Excuse me. They talk about
But
how
let's be honest,
how it,
Moana, it it's an animated movie. They made it live action. People are like, why am I going to go see the live action when I could see the animated one for free?
yeah, it's too soon. That's what happened. The reason I bring it up is not because uh I want to talk about the what is the word I'm looking hypocrisy of Hollywood leads. If you look at Moana, they were talking about yes, everybody need to be Polynesian to represent the Polynesian culture. Okay, but what about Odysseus, Odyssey? Why can't you have Greeks and those kind of things? And it's like, oh, Odyssey is just fantasy. So is Moana, you know.
Yeah, but the thing there is when it's about white people, make it not about white people.
Mm.
When it's about, people of color, let's make sure no white people get in there. That's
And
kind of their reverse racism kind of BS,
there
which
is
is
no
just straight.
there is no reverse racism. They're just racism. Uh,
I was going to say that, which some people would refer to it as reverse racism, but really it's just racism. But
mhm.
people don't think you can be racist to white people because our society is constantly telling people, oh, you can't be racist to white people. So then people of color treat white people like shit. And then white people are like, oh, fuck this. I'm going to be racist myself now. And then the two groups are fighting against each other while the people in power are like, haha, suckers, now we can pull the wool over your eyes and rob you and basically turn you into little slaves and you won't even notice because you're too busy fighting with each other.
And it's the other word is immersion, right? I just want to put it out there. I mean, as you can hear from my lovely accent, that I am not white, um, and I might have a lisp growing up. Like I said, I grew up in third world country. My parents never check, um, so I can't speak my own language. My father used to say, "I can't understand you either Burmese or English." Uh, So I'm trying to get over my own personal shortcoming, of course. But aside from that, you know, it's not even it's about story immersion. I get it why there's Polynesian in Moana. Story immersion. I what's that the god, demigod in Moana, I forget his name. Anyway, if that was a 6'8" Scandinavian uh what's that footballer, Holland, I'm gonna have a problem with it, right? Same that all this, same that apply to this Odyssey. If you have a tall white guys or in Japanese samurai movie, I'm gonna have a problem with that too. It's not just about white people or brown people. For me, it's about story emotion as well. It's just
Well,
I can't focus on the character I expect it to be. Now, if like I said, if there's a tall white guy and playing as a demigod in Moana, I can't do story immersion, right? Yes, at the end of the day, Lupita Nyong'o and what have you. The funny thing is, by the way, Christopher Nolan put less screen time to them than an actual woman in original Homer Odyssey. Homer Odyssey actually portray a woman as, not just one plain feminist. And, he's actually developed these character for, strong female character. But aside from that, but, I can have story emotion. It, stories are supposed to take you to a different land, so to speak, right? That's why the Lord of the Rings and all those things are successful. And yes, we also bring back their lesson lands, kind of apply it to our mundane life. But this is about adventures and different storyline and immersion, and it's like I'm going to a football game and all of a sudden the guy's kneeling. And I'm like, I came here to watch football. I don't want to think about my everyday freaking political shit shows. You know what I mean? And I have a problem if there's a tall white guy or black guys in freaking Asian movies. I'd be like, why? I can't do story immersion. You know what I mean?
Well, for a certain extent, there should be white people in some Asian films, considering what you're talking about. Like if you're talking about the Dutch in Japan, you
Yeah,
need some
yeah. I
white
mean,
people there.
I get it. I get it. I mean, time and places, right? It makes sense. It's like the Emperor of Japan can be a freaking white guy, right? I mean,
Well, they did consider themselves to be Aryan,
yeah.
so maybe it would be okay.
Shut up. Shut up. I'm just kidding. You know, some of my ancestors were Portuguese, okay? But if to make a story about me, there's only one Portuguese white guys in my my storyline, I guess.
If they make a story about you, there definitely will be one white guy, and they'll be like, "Excuse me, Tony was actually mixed race. He was part Mexican, so we need to at least give him some curly hair and a mustache, okay?"
And yeah, yeah, but uh, I have no idea where I'm going with it. I'm just ranting and complaining now. Try to put these into
Yeah.
words that make sense.
Basically, Hollywood has gone from an artistic, let's just try to tell stories to make the world a better place and vibe by being storytellers to welcome to the propaganda machine. We're
Yeah.
officially going to say it's for profitability, but really, it's because we're trying to hammer everyone into being NPCs, or for those of you who don't play video games, non-player characters, or even if you don't grasp that, zombies, and even if you don't grasp that, let me open up the big book of Boomer, sheeple,
Mhm.
people who just go along to get along, basically is that's what they want the society to be. And
Mhm.
honestly, crazy I thought here, but the Odyssey, I think personally, part of its success to the fact that there is a heat wave going on and people are like, air conditioning, let's go.
Probably, yeah. By the way, talking about air conditioning, you hear about all these European people coming to FIFA and realize Americans is run by the conditioner. By the way, more
Yes,
people.
I remember seeing a story a few weeks ago about how in England they were going around being like, "This air conditioner must be removed, Governor. It does not meet with our standards."
Mhm.
And they're just like, "Well, guess we don't have air conditioning." And that's
You
really a
know,
mark of a free country.
yeah,
If your government can come into your house and tell you,
more people die from a heat stroke in Europe than a gun violence in the United States. Just let it throwing it out there. And
"Yeah, I know." And I think
but
personally that's hilarious.
I think going back to these Hollywoods, I have a crazy conspiracy theory. I these movies doesn't make it for us right now. I think these movies are made for our next generation, our future generation. So, you know how we go back old movies, our generation watch them and cherish them. For our new generation of kids, children, when they go back to watch the old movies, all they're gonna see is this. In a way, that is the long game to change our identity. The subversion of male characters, uh, you know, boss babes and all these things. I think these movies are really made for the next generation of people, so they have no history to fall back to.
I would basically say the movies now are being made for the really young generation, like the elementary school generation, because as they continue to basically degrade education and basically make everything let's hold two separate ideas in your head that conflict with each other at the same time, eventually people will no longer be able to do critical thinking and they'll just have to rely on what the people in power tell them because they will no longer be equipped to suss out what is true and what's a lie.
Yeah, yeah, I think, it's really just erasing or degrading of our culture. As much as people say American has no cultures or whatever, we have culture. From, you know, it's not just Big
Uh,
Mac. It is American culture is a combination, a melting pot of all the different cultures together, and they are erasing our identity. Yes, it is. I mean, as an Asian guy, I'll say it. There's a lot of Western cultures infused into it. For some minority of us, there's a lot of Asian culture that I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of Asian culture mixed in it too. We just don't really, it's not really prevalent. So it, American cultures, we as a nation has been slowly undermining by, it's political, social, and also economy, they all tie together. And for me, what I feel like is this Hollywood elites and also politicians, they look down on us as we are just plebes um, that need to change our way, right, to appease them. And we don't go into politics. I no longer feel like we are electing official to represent us. Yeah, feel more like they're the ruling class and they are in charge of us like king and queen now. They are the oligarch elite ruling class. I mean, if you look at uh, in California too, they act like they are ruling class, and they're not pleased with the way we do things, so they want to change us. That's what I feel like.
in California, now, this might be me showing off my tinfoil hat a little bit, but I think in California, the powers that be have corrupted and controlled the system in such a way that now basically they are in charge. They're basically kings unto themselves, but they're merely pretending not to be kings. Because as soon as everyone in California realizes we're being governed by a king, we might revolt. And they don't
Yeah.
want that.
And look at New Jersey. They have what, 20,000 non-US citizens voting for the last 10 years. I saw somewhere in the news about it. They're doing it outright in your face.
Because
There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it, right? But sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
I was just going to say, if you look at basically the voting results over the last little election we had here, the primary for mayor, you can definitely see that people are either A, incredibly stupid, or B, the mail-in voting is being controlled in such a way to cause the outcomes that the people in power want to happen. Because I don't necessarily see Nithya Raman getting all those votes and those people spontaneously also voting to raise taxes. Because mathematically speaking, her voting results shouldn't have spiked up like that. Because the math would say, well, some people would vote for Karen Bass and some people would have voted Spencer Pratt. So instead of it being a straight line, it should be more of like a jagged line.
Yeah, it's they I either people are really dumb or we are being brainwashed to the point that the majority of the people can no longer think for themselves and they just voting for these people outright, right? Funny thing is, the same people complain about these, you know, and I'm one of them. I
Basically.
mean, but at least I'm actively not voting for them. I hope not. I don't know. I'm my late father. He probably been voting Democrat for the last 8 years after he passed away.
Yep. Dead
It's
people love to vote Democrat. That's just how it goes.
yeah, yeah. By the way, he was a registered Democrat, but he voted for Republican a lot.
Here's the thing. I don't think um who you are registered as really matters. It matters if you're actually voting for someone because you think they'll do a good job or not.
Yeah,
That's what I think is the important part. But
yeah. You know,
recently there's been so many people who are like, vote blue no matter who. That's the wrong message. The message should be vote for who you personally believe is the best choice.
yes, and I I believe in horseshoe theory. So extremism from both sides. Whether you're Republican or Democrats, they're the same people. Democrats became so woke that they became racist themselves and asking for segregation down there. Um, it might be a wild claim. By the way, I hate it when people ask me to like write a fucking 300-page dissertation to every sentence I make. Uh, there's a word for it. It's really just really at home and attack at the end of the day. Um, but this is coming from personal experience and point of view. Um, you know, I used to be, I stay a classical liberal, libertarian, even just leave people alone, let the government out of it. As long as we're not hurting each other, just leave us alone. That's my philosophy when it comes to governing. You know, it, it's I apply some of those theory even to the 40K universe. Is I'm gonna note out a little bit. The reason God Emperor fell in 40K universe is because he can't leave people alone. You can't be, he's supposed to be the smartest guy, but he need to learn how to decentralize. Because he doesn't decentralize, he became a fucking God Emperor. Right? That's an extreme example in a fantasy setting. But it's about decentralization. Leave people alone. Let the people thrive. Let the
I will
people thrive.
not have your heresy. I will not have this heresy. How dare you speak ill of the God Emperor?
Let the people thrive. And the Democrat Party has moved so far to the left that I became the right. And same thing with Republican. There's a reason why
That's
there's a new MAGA movement is because Republican no longer represent, you know, it's a rhinoism. They move so far to the right in some of those. I hate the same fake church going. I said fake. I'm not talking about actual people. I'm not a Christian by any means, but I'm not talking about actual good-hearted people. You know, I'm talking about these fake church-going, judgy people, I call it. And the left judge me harshly, the right judge me harshly. And for me, I'm in the middle. I just want to be left alone. Let me just put it that way. I just want to be left alone, enjoy my life. I don't need
well,
no ruling class above me.
I think what you're saying is a lot of like what Chuck Norris said, because he once said that he never left the Democratic Party, but they left him because they went way too far to, basically down the road where it's like, this is where you guys were, and this is where I still am, but then you guys went way to the left, And then the Republicans kind of shifted down towards this way of thinking. So now you consider me a Republican, even though I'm still a 90s Democrat.
Yes, yes. I am. It's sadly I am. Not sadly. Sadly, that is a true statement. I'm still a '90s Democrat. I'm a little bit conservative, a little bit liberals. You know, um, you know, capitalist in a way. I suppose maybe not. People get confused between the toxic capitalists nowadays. They're not. That's not a true capitalism. At the moment, the banks are too big to fail. Capitalism die when that happens.
There's there's what I like to call compassionate capitalism, which is you're about the free market and making money, but you're not going to let your neighbor starve to death.
Yes, we no longer have a community sense. You know, is it's a frustration. I you know go help feed the homeless every week. When I can, when I'm not in a business trouble back to back to back. That I'm missing my life for like 2 months straight. You know, I like to do things for people, right? I like to help out people. That is also coming from my Buddhist point of view, and I also want to do it freely. I don't want anybody putting a gun in my head and say you need to go help these people. That's not helping. That's dictatorship. I do it my own free will, and I'm not gonna force anybody to do it. Is yeah, I guess you could say compassionate capitalism. I don't know if that's the correct word for it. It's about free market. It's about leaving people alone. Republican nowadays, as much dictatorial. You know, uh, People might say, "Oh, I'm anti-Trump for saying it." I'm not. No, I think Trump is, as much as flaw as that man has. I think that man is doing a lot of good job too. Do I agree with everything he did? He does? No, definitely not. Nobody's perfect, and nobody's gonna be able to do everything that I wish it happened. Do I agree with the war in Iran? Yes and no. I think it's 47 long years coming along the way. It's something we need to snip at it. Do I agree with the way that he does things in Iran? No. No, I feel like he has no plan on it. And to be honest, I don't think it's even him. I think it's people around him has no plan on it. He's just a president saying, we need to go take down Iran. It was supposed to be a military planner. But I digress. Um, you know, the oil prices are rising. Um, it's not just him, it's the tide of social economic that is going on right now. Our generations are lost, you know. We can barely afford home. And, if Democrats want to blame the Republicans or what have you, it's like you guys been in charge of this great state for 20 years. You can't blame Republican for this, right? It's like Detroit mayor blaming the Republican and they've been in charge for 60 years. What do you mean it's Republican for? You've been in charge of the cities for 60 years. You know, do I agree with everything a Republican? Well, I'm not Republican. I'm conservative. I'm a classical libertarian. Leave people alone. Now, when I mean classical libertarian, let me get it straight in a clear definition for you. Leave the people the fuck alone. That is what I want to say. And I went a roundabout ranting way. My apology.
Okay, well, that was a good rant. Fortunately, we are now canceled from everything in society, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But this
Bas
is, yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was gonna say basically what I see as the main problem in our society is before people used to be like, hey, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to let you accept the consequences for your actions, but I still will help you when you need it, you know? Like, obviously, you're not just going to keep giving the drug addict drugs, but at a certain point when he's like, hey, I want to be clean, you're going to help him get off drugs and get his life back together, you know, because that's the compassionate thing to do. But now, as a society, we've been taught basically to stick to ourselves completely to a certain extent while spontaneously trying to get followers and all this other outside validation, but the compassion between the two humans is no longer there. It's some sort of like shadowy connection now where it's like, and I say shadowy in the sense that it's like someone's shadow. It's not an actual person, but it resembles a person, you know? So
It's a
it's
it's a
it's
what you're saying is performative compassion is. It's not a real
yeah.
compassion. It's just they're doing it for because one people are watching. It's performative.
All right, so I'm trying to say basically is that there's well, there's probably three types of people in our society. Mainly, there's the type that just wants to do their thing and be left alone, and they don't give a crap about other people because society has basically taught them to not care about anyone else, and that by caring by other people, you're basically hurting yourself. And then there's the group of people who are like, well, we'll do nice things and help people out so long as we get clout and recognition, because that's how we succeed. And then there's the third class of people who are like the old school generation, who are like, hey, you help people not because helping people gets you clicks or likes or money, but you help people because it's the right thing to do. Because at the end of the day, if the roles were reversed, you would want someone to help you. So you should help others just in case one day you're ever in that position.
Hmm. Yes, yes, because I have been in that shoes, and I appreciate all the people that have helped me to get here. I didn't get here, you know, uh, by myself. You know, as much as I will talk shit about my ex-wife, she was there for me in some of those times. But so I appreciate her for it. I didn't get here by myself. Nobody get to where they're at by themselves. And in that is one of the reason why I try to help people out and things like that. Um, it's about helping your fellow human out. We all in this together, and that is a morality. It can be it can be made into a law. Morality law doesn't work. You can't force people to help other people. And I get it. There are some law and regulation to create a kind of a cushion for society for people who have not doing well. And I understand why we pay some of those taxes for it. And there will be people taking advantage of it. So in a way, I guess from the right, some Republican, I sound like a fucking commie, right? I get it. But we also need to take care so people doesn't abuse those systems. And this is why I also believe in border. We can't be helping our country, fellow country people out, fellow citizen out, fellow countrymen out. If we have an open border, it's not free for everybody.
Yep, there's only so much bread to go around, and if we keep adding people to the line, eventually we're going to run out.
Hmm. And guess what? All those people try to stick into the border where all the crimes are happening. And where we are helping people out, crime reduction. you know?
Yeah, we
So,
don't currently have a system where if people want to come, they could just come over very easily. It requires some work to do that. And a lot
mhm.
of people are just, no, I don't want to do the work, so I'll just try to come the easy way. And then when they try to come the easy way, a lot of bad things happen to them and those around them. And as much as we want to be compassionate and say, oh, hey, that shouldn't happen to you, the easiest way to shut that down is to say, hey, guys, stop engaging in this behavior. Like a
You
drug
know,
addict, we
that morality, compassionate. I go for each individual. But when it comes to bigger pictures, you kind of need to simplify into more of a number games. Yes, do I still feel morality and do I still feel compassionate? Yeah, I'll try to do things in more compassionate way that possible. But sometimes it's a number game. It's a simple, hard mathematics. You can have emotion when it comes to making decision in that regard, right? It sounds it sounds bad in some way because you have to put cold logic when it comes to bigger numbers. Is
basically what I would say is, as much as we as individuals would want to save the world, it is impossible to save the world. So you have to save those you can save. That's why there's triage in medicine. Because as much as you want to save everyone, if you try and save everyone, you save no one. So you
yes,
have to save who you can save. And it's
yes,
sad that some people will be lost, but it is better to lose some people for the greater good than to basically just say, well, looks like we're all dead. Bye. But what
yeah,
I was trying to say is currently our immigration thing that California is trying to do is basically being like, oh, you're a drug addict? Here, I'll help you out. Here's more drugs. And that doesn't help them out. That, hey, let's have more illegal immigration. That doesn't help the people out who want to have a better country. And funny enough, if you look at Mexico and what Mexico has done in the recent past, they've basically said, oh, you're from America, you're here, you have too much money, you're making everything more expensive for everybody else. So F you, we're sending you back to America. So
hmm
Mexico can deport us, but we're not allowed to deport them when basically Mexico's like, oh, hey, what's that? You're a criminal? Yeah, feel free to go up to America. We don't want you here. Oh, what's that? You're a criminal? We don't want you here. So you know what? We'll slap you on a bus and get you right up to the border. Because basically, as much as Trump is this evil orange man, he does occasionally tell the truth. South America and other countries are basically emptying out the worst of their population into our country. And then our country, being so wokey and not wanting to tell the truth, basically classifies things wrong. So it's like, look at all these evil white men. And then you look at the pictures and they're browner than brown. And you're like, oh, there's these people from India who are classified as white people. Okay, so I guess then I'm African. I'm an African American. Because if you're just gonna slap whatever race you want onto people, then what's the point of having a race? Because really, let me tell you something crazy here.
yeah,
There is only one race, and that's the human race. But they want to have race divided by countries and ethnicities and the amount of melatonin in your skin. So everyone's fighting against each other instead of realizing, hey, guess what, bud? We're all part of the human race. We're all part of the human family. We all bear a responsibility, not only to ourselves, but to each other. And that responsibility is to be moral above all things.
hmm and you can make law from morality. Anyway, this is our first coming back in 2 months. Um, do you have any parting words, sir, Tony?
Thank you for listening to Rant Fest. Join us next time for another fun-filled adventure of randomness. By the way, Random Man issue 1 on sale now.
And thank you everybody for listening. And to the love of my life, whoever you are, wherever you may be, I hope you're doing all right. And to my Sharon, Papa's love you. Good night, everybody.